All right. So 3 things to accomplish today. Thing number 1, notes. Thing number 2, hand back stuff. Thing number 3, get some homework stamped and or do some homework. Get all caught up with that. Okay? Okay? So your test reminder is going to be not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. Yeah? Okay? So here we go. We are on page 43 in your note packet. Okay? Let's do this. So you're finding me the linear relationships between those 2 different ones, okay? And find the measure of central tendency, mean, median, range, and you don't have to do the standard deviation. Okay? So find me the mean, median, and the range. For that data set. Okay? Go for it. Give you a couple of minutes to get that done. I got y equals negative 3x plus 4 for the first graph. Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications? Okay, y equals 3x plus 18 for the second one. Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications? Yeah. Let's see, we got a 121. 122. 123. Let's see any 124s. 125. There's a 125. There's a 125. There's a 125. And there's a 125. I don't see any 126s. Oh, I do see one right there. 127. Only one of those. 128. 128. 129. 129. I don't know. There's a 130. 131. 132. And a 134. 18 total. So that means it's the average of the 9th and the 10th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So my median would be 126.5. My mean when you add them all up, you should have gotten 2285, and there was 18 of them. So the mean is going to be 126.944. Range is biggest, 134, minus the smallest, 121. So my range here is 13. Yay, nay? Questions, comments, concerns, clarifications? All right, let's get into some two-way tables today. Yeah. So a two-way table is a table that is comparing two different questions. Okay? All right? So Rashid is in charge of determining the upcoming after-school activity. To determine the type of activity, Rashid asked several students whether they preferred to have a dance or play a game of soccer. As he collected preferences, he organized the data in the following two-way table. Okay? So he broke it up into girls or boys, okay? And then soccer and dance. Okay? So 14 girls, what this is saying is 14 girls here wanted to play soccer, whereas 40 boys wanted to play soccer. Okay? 46 girls wanted to dance. Only 6 boys wanted to dance. Okay? So there were 54 total people that wanted soccer. There were 52 people that wanted to dance. And he surveyed 60 girls and 46 boys. Okay? So that's how you can read a two-way table. Okay? Now, what we can do with that two-way table is Rashid is feeling unsure of the activity he should choose based on the data he has collected and is asking for help. To better understand how the data is displayed, it is useful to know that the outer numbers located in the margins of the table represent the total frequency. So that's our totals. That's what we just said. For each row or each column of corresponding values. And the total frequency are called marginal frequencies. Okay? So these are the total frequencies on the outside, and these 4 colored boxes here on the inside, those are the marginal ones. That's what we do when we get the partial ones. LeBron, am I keeping you asleep? What? No, actually, I was keeping you asleep because you were just sleeping, right? Right? Okay. All right. So, using the data in that table, construct a viable argument and explain what Rashid after school event he should choose. Okay? So we want your viable argument in this form. I think the after school event should be, you fill in with soccer or dance based off of that chart, because blank out of blank prefer it. Okay? Okay? So construct a quick argument based off of that table. Anybody willing to share their argument? It's your argument, so you can't be wrong. Go ahead, look. What? You can't do both. You can only do one. Yeah, well, you can be wrong by doing that because you can only do one. Okay? All right? Somebody want to share their argument? Go ahead.
The after school event should be soccer because 54 out of 106.
54 out of 106 prefer soccer. This means is that a viable argument based off of the facts? Yeah. Anybody got a different one? I think Rashid should. I think the after-school event should be dance. Okay? Because, what was it, 46? No, 46. 46 of the 46 of the 60 girls think that that's what it should be. Okay? This means that keeping the ladies happy is much easier than not keeping the ladies happy. Okay? Likewise, we could change that over. I think it could be soccer because 40 of the, guys were there, 40 of the 46 males prefer soccer. Okay? And that's an overwhelming majority to keep that, keep the fellas happy. Okay? Multiple different arguments that you could make there based off of that. All based on fact. Okay? Just can't do the both because that wasn't an option. You had to pick one or the other. Okay? Alright? So let's make a two-way table now based off of some other data. Okay? So, data set. There are 45 total students who like to read books. Okay? Where is that 45 total students going to go? Bottom right corner. It's going to be 45. Okay? Of those students, 12 of them like nonfiction. Where is 12 of them liking nonfiction going to go? So nonfiction column right here. Okay. If that's 12, what's the fiction total? 33. Okay. That row has to add up to the total. Okay. 4 girls like nonfiction. That's going to go here. So how many fellas like nonfiction? 8. 20 boys like fiction. Fill me in a square. The total boys is 28. Fill me in the next square. 13. Total number that like fiction is 13. Yes, I thought you said total number of girls. And I was going to say not 13. But the total number of girls, yes, is 13. It's 17. Rows should add up. 20 plus 8 is 28. 13 plus 4 is 33 plus 12 is 45. Columns should add up. 20 plus 13 is 33. 8 plus 4 is 12. 28 plus 17 is 45. So everything that adds up. So there we go. Can somebody give me an observation? That is an observation. And give me another one. So the majority of girls prefer fiction, majority of boys prefer fiction. Yep. Okay. Are we seeing a trend here? Majority of these students prefer fiction. That could be our third observation. Okay. All right. Love it. You try data set number 3 now. Okay. Try making me a two-way table based off of the amount of time they spend on homework each night. What's missing right from the jump before we even get to the numbers? The grades. Which left column we want to go with? 7th grade. Right column. Okay. Somebody fill me in a number. Somebody fill me in another number. Okay, where's that going to go? This one?
The other total box is going to be 26.
Okay. This one? This one? Middle? 12? Last number? 14. Rows first, 21 plus 29, 50. 14 plus 12, 26. 35 plus 41, 76. 20 columns now, 21 plus 14, 35. 29 plus 12, 41. 50 plus 26, 76. So it all checks out. Okay? Rachel and her mother have an ongoing disagreement about whether Rachel spends too much time on her phone and sends too many texts. Both for arguments, race collect data from among her friends, and her mother collected data from among her friends. We'll learn later that this is not a good sampling method, but that is a story for another day. Rachel thought about the data she and her mom collected. the average number of texts a person sends each day and started thinking of perhaps a two-way table of data collected would help convince her mom that she does not send in an excessive number of texts for a teenager. The table separates the data by age, teenager, and adult, and by the average number of texts, more than 100 texts sent per day. That is a lot. Whew! It's carpal tunnel on the thumbs. Huh? Teenagers send more texts than adults, is what I see right from the start. Yeah? Huh? All right? What else? Adults, well, that's kind of an inference, but yeah, because we really only have we only have data that's on text. You know what I mean? So we don't know what else is going on. Yeah. Yeah. But I agree. Adults usually tend to be a little bit more busy, a little more responsibilities. All right, let's get to. I want to get to a frequency table. Where is my frequency table? There it is. Okay. So here on page 47, this is good video right now. Whoever's watching the video is going to get dizzy. Okay? So there's another way to look at a two-way table, and that's called a frequency table. Okay? So a frequency table is a table of percentages. Okay? Now it depends on what your frequency table is percentagizing as to how it goes into the what you're dividing by to find the percentage. Okay? So a frequency table of the whole table. Okay? So you would take each cell and you would divide it by the total number of inputs, I should say, would be a best way of saying it. Meaning this is the lower right corner. That total. Okay? Remember on that lower right corner was the total number, like we had the total number of students and the total number of people that they surveyed and the total number of, what was the other one? Boys and girls, because it was soccer. Okay, that total, that lower right-hand corner, that's going to be a frequency table of the whole. Okay? If we're doing a frequency table of the rows, then we divide each cell by the total on the right of the row. Okay? So that would be that right-hand column. So you divide each cell in that particular row by that end number. Okay? So you would be dividing by 3 different numbers each time. Okay? If we're doing it by the column, okay, then we're going to divide each cell by the total on the bottom of the column. Okay? So there's 3 different types of frequency tables that we can do. Okay? So Rachel wanted to emphasize that a person's age makes a difference in the number of texts sent. So the first thing she decided was to focus on the row values. So she could write conditional statements about the number of texts a person is likely to send based on their age. This is called the relative frequency of row table. So let's do that right now. Okay? So this was what we had. Okay, so this was that column, this was that table that we just did. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take, because it's of the rows, we're going to take this number 20 here, and we're going to divide it by 24. That's this number right there. So what is 20 divided by 24? 83. Okay? So this would be 83%. I'm going to take 4 here, and I'm going to divide it by 24. Should get 17%, right? These two numbers should still add up to be that way, because we're dealing with a of the row frequency table. The columns now won't add up, okay? Because we're not dealing with a whole table that adds up on the columns. We're dealing with of the row, okay? So this now would be 2 divided by 24 and 22 divided by 24, because that's that row. Check that out. Do we get 8 and 92%? Punch it on the calculator. 2 divided by 24, does it get you 8? 22 divided by, excuse me, yes, 22 divided by 24, I put 22 divided by 22. Just notice that. 92%. Okay. Percentage of the total, 22 divided by 48 is 46%. 26 divided by 48 is 54%. Okay. So was it Rachel? Was that her name? Rachel? Did Rachel prove her point? That she's not part of, because she's trying to prove that she's, right? Was I forget what she was. That she's normal, right?
Yeah.
And she sends more than 100 texts per day. So is she in that normal range? No. Overall, this is overall, right? Because there's 22 out of the 48 that send more than 100 texts per day, so she's not in the majority. Okay, so she kind of disproved herself right there, right? So now let's spin it around and let's go of the column. Okay, so now this would be 20 divided by 22 and 2 divided by 22. So because now we're going off of this number right here at the bottom of the column. To me, this data is inconclusive because it's basically saying that, 91% of teenagers send more than. It's even disproving her point more, right? Actually, no, I lied. It's proving her point. This is proving her point. By switching around, because she wanted to prove that she is part of the norm. And she sends more than 100 texts. Okay? So this one is actually proving hers by switching it up to the columns. Okay? I thought we had to make one more. Come on. They gave it to us. Okay. So, on your takeaways, let's do we haven't done one of these yet. Let's do a relative frequency of the whole. So you need to draw yourself a new chart. Okay. What number are we dividing by now? Each cell. Bottom right corner, so we're dividing them all by 106. Fill in this chart now. Agree? Notice anything about the relative frequency of the whole chart? Any observations that you see? What do you got? Okay. About the numbers, you notice anything about just the actual numbers? So these two here add up to be this one. Do these two here add up to be this one? Yeah. What about across? Yep, going across they add up too, because it's of the whole. Okay, it's kind of like the one that we did before, the regular frequency table, because it's of the whole. Okay. All right, let's take a little peek at your homework. Oh, cut the brakes, one too many. All right, there we go. Linear functions. Okay. We can do those. Find the slope, find the y-intercept, y equals mx plus b. Good to go there. Data. Create yourself a two-way table. Love it. Answer some questions about that. I can handle that. Remember, you needed a score of 6 or better to pass the quiz. Here is a two-way table. Then you want to create a frequency of the column table. So we're dividing by the totals of the columns. Another two-way table, relative frequency of rows. So we're dividing by the row totals. And then another of the whole. So we're dividing by that 192 number. Okay. You do not have to find the standard deviation on page 55. Okay. Don't need to find that. But you do need to create a box and whisker plot to go along with them.
Likewise on 16 and 17, you do not need to find the standard deviation. Histogram with a bin width of 2, so that means you're going to go 0 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, so on and so forth. Good times.